Hello everybody! We are finally going to film the quarter four flip through for 2024. I can't believe this was already over 6 months ago, the weeks that we're going to look at, but here we are. It's been like a month since I put one of these up. Life got busy, didn't have a lot of time to film videos. We all know the story of my life. So before we get into flipping through October through December of 2024, which is hilarious because honestly I filmed most of these plan with me's like in 2 weeks between December and January. So I honestly put the stickers down a long time ago, or not that long ago. Opposite of what I was trying to say, sorry. But before we take a look at those 3 months, I wanted to do the final count on color blocked versus non-color blocked weeks from 2024. And it was actually closer than I thought it was going to be, which is really funny. So as far as color blocked weeks, I had 25 of those, and then for not color blocked weeks I had 28 of those in 2024, which I thought color blocked was going to be higher, but I think especially in the first half of 2024 I didn't do a lot of color blocking and regretted it, and then I was like, okay, I need to start doing more color blocking because I like it better. And there were certain weeks I put down where I like meant to color block and then forgot as I was putting down glitter headers and everything, and I just didn't want to take everything up. So I think that's what skewed the numbers here. So 3 more non-color blocked spreads than color blocked, and that means there are 53 total weeks in my planner. So on that note, let's jump into October through December 2024. Let's look back at these weeks in my planner. So these is from my first brother's wedding reception in October. This is me and my second brother goofing off. And then I decided to put this Cafe with Anna journaling card here because this is the kit that I used for the week of that wedding. And then I have an Itty Bitty Sticker Co. journaling card here as well. Then we get into the monthly view. October was where things started to get quite busy, like outside of work. So this kit is from Itty Bitty Sticker Co. Our cat got sick, but then recovered with very little treatment, so we don't really know what that was about. There were 2 weddings in the course of like a week, so my cousin got married very close to where we live, which is really the only reason I would be able to make it to like an extended family wedding this time of year. And then my brother got married out of town, which got a little complicated because Evie was sick, so I just ended up going without my husband, who was originally supposed to go with me. So that kind of sucked just because it was like our 12th anniversary together as a couple, so spending it without him was a little bit of a bummer, but it was a really quick trip to Seattle. Like I think I flew in this morning and left this evening. And then on the flight back, I definitely caught a cold and was sick for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I had to take Clover to a cardiologist, and I got rid of my old car. And then we hosted a Halloween party and also went out to like a really nice sushi restaurant for our anniversary. So this is the first weekly kit for October. This is from the Prairie Planner, although I don't think she sells this one anymore, which is a shame because this is really pretty. And then I brought in a little bit of silver foil from a bunch of different shops, not shots, whoa. It was really, really hot this week. Even in the first week of October, Evie was not doing well. I basically came home from work, so I probably got home around like 3 or probably closer to 4 with traffic. And I realized Evie had not left our bed all day and was not eating a whole lot. And she had been a little bit sick a couple weeks before, but then got better. I think she had like a UTI and got antibiotics and got better. So then we got her shots, which she was due for, and then after that she started getting sick again. So she was not well. That was really scary. We had to like feed her by hand. We're like, what is going on? So we got her checked out and we got blood work done. Everything came back normal, but she was not acting normal. So, luckily this wedding was in town. So we went to it for a few hours on Friday night and we went to the newlywed brunch the next day. But yeah, we were feeding Evie like off a little spoon to get her to eat. Because for some reason when cats are sick, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, they will not eat out of their bowl. You have to like feed them off a utensil, or like when Clover got really, really sick, I had to feed her off my fingers. It was really weird. Yeah, and then I was doing some work over the weekend. I forget why. I was teaching 5 classes and juggling a bunch of personal life stuff, so probably just felt the need to grade over the weekend. So yeah, I was just really worried. Then this is from Cafe with Anna. Like I mentioned, this was the week that my brother got married, so it was also 12 years with my husband, so I just thought like a Cinderella kit would be cute for that. We were still feeding Evie with a fork or a spoon. There's a bunch of stuff going on this day. This was a very difficult day for lots of different people. And then I ended up canceling my husband's flight because he would just stay back with Evie since she still wasn't eating totally on her own. And then this was 12 years with my husband. I flew to Seattle, hung out with a few of my siblings and my dad. Not the whole family could make it to this wedding. It was kind of more of a, it was in a Hindu temple because my now sister-in-law is Indian. But it was more of like a small kind of sort of civil type wedding, except of course it took place in a temple. So by definition, that's not civil. So it was kind of planned very close to this date, so not all of us made it, but I wanted to try my best to be there, and luckily that worked out. So yeah, we were just hanging out this day, and then I got to wear a sari for the first time. We went to the ceremony, and then we had dinner at an Indian restaurant, and then I flew back home because I had class the next morning. So this kit is from Linner Designs, and I believe it was a Thanksgiving kit, but I just had some boxes left over that were kind of like generic fall, so I thought that worked well for this week. And then this was where I got sick. I caught a cold. I don't catch colds very often, thankfully. I'm not around like small children a lot. I don't have kids. I work at a college, but of course in college, like they very much stay home when they're sick. So I don't often get sick, but I think I definitely got sick from somebody on the plane, like someone who's literally sitting right next to me. Evie started playing again, so she was starting to feel better, literally like right after my brother's wedding. Clover was jumping up on the couch a bunch, which was cool because it meant that she was starting to regain more strength in her back legs. Evie was bringing me her mouse toy. And then this is where I woke up with a sore throat. I tested negative for COVID, but I think I called out of my afternoon class, or no, sorry. One of the colleges I worked at was on fall break this week because one of the colleges I worked at had fall break and the other two did not. So at least I didn't have to like use up sick time for one of my jobs because I don't get a lot of it. In California, even part-time employees get sick time, by the way, it's the law now, but it's not a ton of sick time. So I was sick here. I was still grading because I was definitely behind on grading, but I was like canceling classes left and right because I'm like, I cannot talk very well right now, and a lot of my job is talking, or at least a lot of leading a class is talking. But I did have this really important cardiology appointment at UC Davis for Clover, so I had to go out and handle that this day because my husband was working, couldn't take the day off, and I just had to handle it. It was super windy this day, which did not help with my cold symptoms. I was exhausted after that. It was a lot, but Clover's heart was all good. They do want us to get it checked out one more time, but she's already had 2 echocardiograms and like nothing has changed. So we'll see what we do about that this year. Evie was running, so she was feeling better. I was still sick though. I was grading on the weekend to make up for being gone the previous weekend. I do not miss fall 2025 in terms of having to travel a lot and bring my iPad to grade things, because as you can see here, I was trying to like, I didn't do any grading here. Like I was trying to fit in grading a few papers here and there on every trip we did, and it was really hard to like socialize and make it to my flights on time and all of that. We had our date night at a nice sushi restaurant. We were still picking tomatoes at this point. I think this was our last like tomato harvest from our backyard. And then Evie had a giant hairball, which also might have been why she was sick. That girl, she's like a long hair cat, so she gets hairballs, and she just had one the other day where she just like expelled all of her dinner from her stomach and then the hairball came up. So it's gross. But that's having cats. That's part of the deal. Oh, we were watching Rings of Power, which was dramatic. This was a very experimental week, but I actually really like how it turned out. So the leftovers of the kit were from Bean Sprout Paper Co. And the underlays were Pixie Rainbow from Planet Hannah in this like alien pattern. And I just thought this was really funny and really fun. I called out sick again, still testing negative for COVID, but I was starting to get better around here. So that was good. And then my husband wasn't feeling well. That's not good. I had my period right after. That's how it went the 2 times I got sick in this last quarter of the year, because we will get to the second time I got sick this last quarter of the year. I feel like my period was like right on the tail end of that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I get to deal with that. I finished watching House, which I was doing a whole rewatch of from like August to this point. Feeling a lot better here, going back to work. Oh yeah, I was going back to teaching my classes by this Tuesday. So really it was only like a week where I didn't feel good enough to teach. What else happened? I retired my 2006 Hyundai Sonata because it couldn't pass smog, and like it's being brought to my attention by the internet that a lot of people just drive around with expired registration, but I feel like we've talked about this before on this channel. I cannot get away with not following rules. It just never works out for me. Even when I am following the rules, people accuse me of not and really try to take advantage of me. So I have to follow the rules. It's just how my life works, because if I don't, or even when I do, people try to ruin my life. So anyway, we had a Halloween party. That was fun. I remember we played Clue. And I think, what did my husband make for dinner? Oh, my husband made lasagna, which was great. Like a big old lasagna. And then this is where I was starting to rewatch Bones, which the pilot of that show is a lot, but it gets way better after that. So if you've never watched Bones, you need a show. It's free on Roku right now. All 12 seasons of it. I'm still watching it. It was one of my brother's birthdays. We finished Rings of Power. So that was October. Then we get into November, which gets even crazier. And then also, of course, there was the presidential election. We won't talk too much about that. It's a sore point, definitely. But I did vote. This is a Polaroid of my husband and I in Mexico City at our friend's post-wedding brunch. We have another Itty Bitty Sticker Co. monthly kit. I love this pie theme for like Thanksgiving, although we didn't spend Thanksgiving at home this year. This monthly kit was like so full, or this monthly spread was so full. We got to celebrate Diwali, and then we went to Mexico. I had never been to Mexico, which I feel like as a Californian is kind of odd or out of the ordinary, but I had never been. So we went to Mexico City specifically, celebrated our friend's wedding for the next couple of days, and then I got food poisoning. So that was what I meant by getting sick twice in this last quarter of the year. So October, I had a bad head cold. It was pretty bad. And then November, I had food poisoning that lasted for like a week, and I did have to take antibiotics for it because it would not go away. So yeah, and now I'm stressed out that I'm like permanently damaged from it, but I also maybe need to not just drink coffee first thing in the morning. Maybe that would help some of my issues. That could help. So I did it. We did it. I'm going to urgent care because at this point it was like 2 days and it was still not going away. And then the doctor was like, well, wait until the end of the week to take these antibiotics because it's probably viral and it'll just go away. And then clearly it wasn't viral because as soon as I took the antibiotics, it went away. So my husband didn't take the antibiotics, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that was just a bit stressful because then we had this 2-week New Zealand trip, and we did have trip insurance purchased on it. And we had like a doctor's note from going to urgent care, so I suppose we could have cashed out on that, but we were like, you know what? We've already postponed this trip once due to health reasons, not our health reasons, but for our cat. So we just need to go, and I'm glad we went. There were a couple of days that would have been better if we didn't have food poisoning or we weren't recovering from food poisoning. But overall, it was a good trip. And really, New Zealand is a great country to go to if you are having stomach issues because the quality of the food was really, really good. So yeah, we flew out there, and then we'll get into all of these different things. But I just marked like one big thing for each of the days that we were in New Zealand. And that was, you know, I say a once in a lifetime trip, but I could see myself going back. I could see myself traveling there by myself. I feel safe there. So yeah, it was, I do really recommend that as a trip. It's just hard to get out there. Like even flying from California, it's a nonstop flight, or you can get nonstop flights, like 13, 14 hours, but it is quite expensive to get out there, to fly out there. Anyway, getting into the weekly kits, this was from Cinderella Paper. I adored this Halloween art, so, so cute. I was finally fully not sick. I had like no sniffles or anything at this point. And what else was going on? I was watching a lot of Bones, very appropriate for Halloween. I was still weighing Clover once a week. I kind of got out of that. My husband put together an ofrenda for Dia de los Muertos because he's Mexican-American, if you do not know. And we also celebrated Diwali with one of our Indian friends. Finished my presidential ballot. Oh, and the underlays from this are from Planet Henna. You're going to start seeing a lot more underlays this last section of the year because I got really into those. Really fun. And then this was the Mexico week. So this is from Caress Press. I had a really hard time picking a kit for Mexico, especially because we were going to Mexico City. So, you know, that's inland if you're not aware. So you can't see the ocean from Mexico City. So I feel like a lot of Mexico kits are very like resort themed and like oceanic themed. And that was not our type of Mexico trip. But this ended up matching. I did not intend this because I didn't know this was going to happen, but this matched the colors of the wedding really well. So yeah. So this was my husband's friends, 2 friends from grad school. They got married. And I consider them my friends too, but yeah, he knows them from graduate school and that's where they met. And I got to be kind of like a I told you so moment with my husband because when he started grad school, his cohort was very close and like went to through lots of parties together. And I'm like, Nathan, some of these people are going to end up together. You've realized this, right? And he's like, no. And then like, there's at least 2 married couples from this cohort. So this couple and then another couple that got married a few years ago and has a daughter at this point. And they're so cute. So I'm like, Nathan, I told you so. Like, you have to listen. Anyway. Yeah, this was the election. That was not great. In my humble opinion, I had my husband be a guest speaker in my class because we were talking about cover letters and he's pretty good at that. And then we flew to Mexico City this day. This pretty much took all day with the time difference. We stayed at the Hampton Inn in Mexico City in the Centro Histórico, and it's a really nice Hampton Inn. Really cute Hampton Inn because it's in a historic building. And then we went on a taco adventure. We got some really good tacos the next day. Saw a cat at the taco stand, kind of walked around the historic area, and then later in the evening made our way over to the wedding, and it was the MERP reunion, the UCLA class of 2018 Masters of Urban and Regional Planning reunion. That was so much fun to see all these people who I used to see like all the time when my husband lived in Westwood. But we haven't seen a lot of them lately, especially now that we don't live near Los Angeles anymore. But yeah, lots and lots of fun. I think we stayed at the wedding until like midnight, and supposedly the party went on until like 4 a.m. Someone showed up in a Pikachu outfit at one point. Mariachi showed up at one point. That was after we went. We're like, we can stay till midnight. That's about as late as we can go. Got a full night's sleep. And then walked around the historic district again and went to the post-wedding brunch. And then I could tell I was starting to not feel well in this evening, but I didn't know quite how bad it was going to get. I did get food poisoning. We're not 100%, both of us did. I'm not 100% sure where we got it. We did not drink any of the tap water. It's possible that when we took showers, some of the water got in our mouth through that. It's possible that one of the things we ate throughout the weekend was bad, although we tried to avoid the things that like they say not to eat. But it's possible there was something in like a salsa that was left out or something. We don't know. So that's not to say anything bad about Mexico or anything like that. However, it is something to be aware of when you go there. The water in the sewer system is not the best, and honestly that makes me angry that anybody has to deal with that anywhere in the world. So just something to be aware of. But yeah, I really like how this one turned out. Very bright and colorful. And then this is from Pink Leaf Prints, and the underlays are from Planner Pixico, sorry. Plannahana has a very similar pattern, a like passport stamp pattern. So I used this because this Monday, we flew home from Mexico, and then on Saturday we flew to New Zealand. This was not originally our plan. We did not know our friends were going to get married in November when we booked this trip, and ideally we would have gone on this trip more in like January, but because of when we had to cancel it, this trip we were originally going to go in January 2024. Clover got sick. We didn't want to leave her while she was sick. So we had to rebook our tickets within like 10 months of the original date or something like that. So this was the 2 weeks that made the most sense, because originally when we rebooked, I was working at a university where we got the whole week of Thanksgiving off. That didn't happen in this case. So it was complicated, but it all worked out for the best. So yeah, woke up at like 3 or 4 a.m. with food poisoning. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but it was terrible. So we flew from the Mexico City airport to LAX. Mexico City airport and LAX, 2 places I really never want to be again in terms, especially if I have food poisoning. It was awful, but we survived. You know, once we were on that plane from LAX to Sacramento, I was like, thank the Lord. So we made it through, but it was a rough day. It was a really rough day. And then I was still sick on Tuesday, but I did go and teach my classes in the evening. Did I not have an F? Oh, no, I went to both my classes, but I think I was like, y'all, I'm here and I'm standing and I'm alive and I'm okay. But like, just know, I'm coping with some things right now. Felt a little bit better this day, but not really 100%. So we did go to urgent care and ended up getting prescribed the antibiotics. I did go to my afternoon class. I push through as much as I possibly can. That's probably a toxic trait, but I can do it. And I was feeling a little bit better, but again, not 100%. Went to work. And this is where we got our My Chemical Romance tickets. That's how far in advance we had to buy those. And then just getting ready, eating yogurt to try and like boost my good gut bacteria. And then my dad drove us out to BART. We took BART to SFO, and then we left in the evening. And then this day technically didn't exist. Maybe? I don't know. I just wrote in 3 things. I did 2 double boxes because I was doing some grading on the plane. I watched a movie, and then we crossed the international date line. And then this is from Cinderella Paper, and the underlays are from Planet Hannah, and this was our first full week in New Zealand. So we started in Auckland. We were in Auckland these 3 days. I was pretty sick. This is where I decided I need to take the Z-Pack because I don't want to feel like this the whole time we're here, and luckily it worked. But this day I mostly spent in bed because in Auckland, I feel like it was good that we had like this day to just chill because there weren't as many things we wanted to do in Auckland. So yeah, that was good. We got pho, which was great for my stomach. Probably some of the best pho I've had, funnily enough. And then I was doing some work because, like I said, didn't really have this week off. So I was meeting with students virtually. And then in the evening, we went to the Auckland Museum and all of that and walked around town. This day was great because we went to the Waitomo Glowworm Caves as well as Hobbiton, which of course is why I used this kit. And then this day we left Auckland and took a bus to Rotorua. It was quite cold in Rotorua this time of year, even though it was springtime. So we walked around, but it was really, really windy and cold. And then this day I had to do a lot of work, like meeting with students. So the only thing we really did this night was go to the Maori village, but that was amazing. The feast was great and the performances were amazing. So that was a lot of fun. Then this day we flew out to Wellington, which is the capital of New Zealand, and just kind of shopped around. Like, I didn't know there was going to be so much good shopping in Wellington. If I had known that, I probably would have packed fewer outfits and bought some clothes while we were there. Because like I was seeing things in the storefronts that I'm like, I want that outfit, but like I have literally no more space in my luggage. And it's like stuff I can't find here, or that I really like, but I can't find in the shops here or even online here. So anyway, just kind of shopped around, took the cable car up to the Botanic Gardens. We also got a sushi dinner. So yeah, that was Wellington. And the next day we were in Wellington as well. We went to Weta Workshop and the Museum of New Zealand. And like most days on this trip, I was doing a little bit of grading as I went along, just because I needed to keep up with work. Ideally, we would have taken this trip during my winter break, but like I said, we just couldn't postpone it any longer because of the rules around our airfare. Like, these flights were very expensive, as you might imagine, that long of a distance of a transoceanic flight. And so it was like, I'm not going to just like cancel them. We need to reschedule them. So that was November. This is a photo from December that we took at our friend's birthday party. And then December ended up being a lot quieter as I was wrapping up the semester, and we pretty much stayed home the whole month. So this is an old Itty Bitty Sticker Co. monthly kit. This kit is from Caress Press. I'm pretty sure you can still get this one, and the foil is from Planet Hannah. So we were still in New Zealand here. This was the week of Thanksgiving. We found out our friends were engaged, which was cute. We took a flight out to Christchurch, where we stayed for the next couple of days. We didn't end up seeing a lot of Christchurch. Ideally, In a perfect world with this trip, we would have taken like 3 weeks and probably added a day onto each of the cities that we visited. I think that would have given us more time. But because we're Americans and my husband only gets 2 whole weeks off the entire year, if even that, or at least paid time off, this is what we could do. So, like we met several Europeans on this trip. They're like, "What do you mean you only get 2 weeks off?" I'm like, they're like, "You must make so much more money than us." I'm like, "Oh, I wish, honey." Like, and these were like old, not older Europeans, but like not like as old as our parents, my husband and I, but like close in age to our parents. So we're like, yeah, our PTO is not a lot in this country for how much we make, quite frankly. But anyway, in Christchurch, we did go to the Antarctic Center, which was awesome because I just sat and watched little blue penguins for like an hour. I'm not even joking. And then found this great brew pub that had a great barbecue pork pizza. Like I said, food was a big thing on this trip for us. We were sort of anticipating that and also didn't anticipate that at the same time, but like I really didn't eat a single bad thing on this trip. And then this day we took a tour out to Aoraki National Park, or Mount Cook National Park. There was a little bit of delay because the Sprinter van got a flat tire and that had to get changed, but we went to Lake Tekapo, which this time of year has lots of beautiful flowers. We hiked the Hooker Valley track, which has a few like suspension bridges, although I think one of them is closed right now until next year, so be aware of that. And then I got really into this show called My Kitchen Rules, which is actually an Australian cooking show, but they show it in New Zealand. And then this day we flew out for the last leg of our trip, which was in Queenstown, and that was an adorable mountain tourist town, very beautiful, and lots of great food there as well. I was really exhausted this day though. We did kind of take it easy on this Thursday because originally we were going to go out to Fiordland National Park or Milford Sound, but it was pouring rain out there, which apparently was kind of scenic, but I didn't want to be out in the rain. So we ended up going to a place called Kiwi Park, which is a Department of Conservation park, and I got to see kiwi birds in like a special nocturnal habitat. We also got to see like kias and other types of animals as well, like the tuatara, which is a reptile. It was really great. And then we walked around the Queenstown Gardens and went to an incredible restaurant where we got like oysters and lamb and venison. Great dinner. So that was our Thanksgiving dinner. Which of course Thanksgiving is not a holiday celebrated in New Zealand, so it was just another day in New Zealand. And then Friday, the last big part of our trip was going out to Fiordland and Milford Sound on a cruise, so that was a lot of fun. And then this Saturday, we said bye to Queenstown and flew home and technically lived this day twice because we crossed back over the international date line. So I was up for at least a whole day, living November 30th twice. Then I slept for 12 hours that night, and then it was suddenly December already. So I'm like, okay, put together the gingerbread cat house, clean up the house, all that good stuff. So then we get into the Christmas spreads. We go from spring to winter, because that's how it rolls when you live in California and take a trip to New Zealand. This kit is from Apple Blossom Prints. So cute. I love this as like a pastel Christmas kit. It was my brother's 24th birthday, my youngest brother, I should say. I think this was the last week of classes at one of the schools where I was teaching. Nothing too crazy. We had like a makeup Thanksgiving with some friends, and then I decorated for Christmas because I was like, it's already December 8th. I have no Christmas decorations up. And Clover, I discovered after being gone for almost 3 weeks, including the Mexico trip, was jumping up on the couch a lot more since we've been gone, which was really nice to see just because she's been struggling so much with jumping. So it was nice to see her getting up on some furniture, feeling more confident in that. This is also from Apple Blossom Prints. There were a couple of like earthquakes near us that we very vaguely felt. You don't really feel earthquakes that much in Sacramento, but like there's like the ripple effects are very subtle. Let's see here. So I think this was the last week of classes at the other schools where I was teaching. And then I had an interview at yet another school where I'm going to be teaching in the fall, and we were starting to get a lot of rain here. We went to Nevada City's Victorian Christmas, which is a very packed event this time of year, but it was very cute. I enjoyed that. This one's also from Apple Blossom Prints. I did have to pull out the white gel pen for this to write on some of these stickers, but that's good. It was my dad's birthday. And then I was just doing all of the grading, trying to get things done before Christmas. We got a million Christmas cards this year, which was fantastic. I love that. Yeah, lots of grading. We were taking care of our friend's dog because they were gone for Christmas. And then I was trying to take our family photos, which is me, my husband, and the cats, to order Christmas cards. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then this is from Sadie Stickers. This was Christmas week, of course. Finished grading on, I guess, this Monday, it looks like. Cool. And still taking care of the dog. Spent the holidays with my family, which we didn't get to do in 2023. So that was great. Lots of gift giving and nothing too eventful. And then also went to a basketball game with my family. So saw them for like 3 days in a row, quite a lot. And then just kind of chilled this weekend. I went to our friend's birthday party as well, because his birthday was the next week, and this was the day we found out Jimmy Carter had passed away, which was quite sad for me personally. And then I don't think I filmed this week, no, because I filmed it in my new planner for 2025, but these were leftovers from Cinderella paper. This was where we went into like a dry spell for a while. Like it didn't rain for a while after this. Was in a bad mood on New Year's Eve. I can't really remember why, but we did start using our record player that we got for Christmas, booked a Tahoe trip for our anniversary that was coming up, and watched Love Actually, which my husband had never seen. And then I think my husband left this weekend to do like a makeup Christmas with his family. So I was by myself, which was fine by me. Molly the cat unfortunately passed away. My two youngest sisters were in town, so they came over and we played their Chappell Roan record. And that is the end of the planner. So that was 2024. I hope you enjoyed seeing that last flip through. Look how chunky this planner is at this point. So I might do one more video where I flip through really quick with no voiceover, just the whole year in review. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing this last quarter of the year. I got something on my nail right there. I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.